The day I caught my husband in bed with my own cousin, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there in that doorway, watching my entire world crumble into dust while they scrambled to cover themselves with my grandmother's quilt. But here's the thing nobody tells you about betrayal. The real pain doesn't hit you in that moment. It hits you 3 weeks later when you're sitting on your mama's couch with 14-year-old Zach, watching her phone blow up with lies about you. When your own family, people who held you as a baby, are calling you the problem. When the man you built a life with for 16 years has turned everyone against you, and you realize you're about to lose everything except your son and your dignity. My name is Sarah, I'm 40 years old, and this is the story of how I went from being a desperate, broke, disgraced housewife to building a multi-million-dollar empire. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back to where it all started falling apart. It was a regular Tuesday morning in our Harlem brownstone. Jack had already left for his law firm, or so I thought. I was doing what I'd done for the past 16 years, running our home, making sure our son had everything he needed, keeping our lives smooth and organized while Jack built his career. I never complained. I believed in us. I believed in the partnership we had. That morning, I'd taken Zach to school and stopped by the grocery store. I was planning Jack's favorite meal, jerk chicken with rice and peas, because he'd been so stressed lately with a big case. I wanted to do something nice for him. Isn't that ironic? The day your world ends, you're out buying ingredients to make your cheating husband's favorite dinner. I got home around 11 a.m., arms full of grocery bags, keys jingling as I pushed open our front door. The house was quiet, too quiet, and there was music playing upstairs. In our bedroom. That's when my stomach dropped, girl. You know that feeling when your body knows something before your mind catches up? That heavy, sick feeling that makes your hands go cold? I put those bags down so carefully, so quietly. Each step up those stairs felt like walking through water. The bedroom door was cracked open just enough, and I could hear them laughing, whispering, the sound of my husband's voice saying things I hadn't heard him say to me in years. I pushed that door open, and there they were, Jack and my cousin Diane, in my bed, under my grandmother's wedding quilt. Now, Diane wasn't just any cousin. We grew up together. Sleepovers, secrets, dreams, we shared everything. When her mama died 5 years ago, I was the one holding her through the funeral. When she lost her job last year, who do you think let her move into our guest room for 3 months? Who helped her get back on her feet? Me, Sarah. The fool standing in that doorway. Jack jumped up so fast he got tangled in the sheets. Sarah. Baby, wait. But Diane? Diane didn't even look ashamed. She pulled that quilt up to her chest and had the nerve to look annoyed that I interrupted them. That's when I knew this wasn't some one-time mistake. This was planned. This was comfortable. This had been going on for a while. How long? I asked. My voice came out so calm it scared me. Sarah, let me explain. Jack started, pulling on his boxers. How long? Diane sat up, and I'll never forget the look on her face. Cold. Calculated. 6 months, she said like she was proud of it. And honestly, Sarah, this was bound to happen. You stopped trying years ago. I stopped trying? I stopped trying. Girl, I wanted to snatch that quilt and drag her out by her hair. But I just stood there watching my husband, this man I'd supported through law school by working 2 jobs, this man whose shirts I ironed every Sunday night, this man who I'd given up my own dreams for, not even defend me. Sarah, you have to understand, Jack said, and he actually had the audacity to sound reasonable. We've been unhappy for a long time. You know that. I didn't know that, I whispered. I thought we were fine. That's because you don't pay attention to anything except Zach and your little house projects, Diane snapped. Jack needs a woman who understands his ambition. Someone on his level. Someone on his level. This coming from a woman who'd been unemployed more times than I could count, who'd borrowed money from me she never paid back, who'd eaten at my table and slept under my roof. What would you have done in that moment? Would you have fought? Would you have cursed them out? Looking back, I wish I had. But I was in shock. Complete shock. So I just turned around and walked out of my own bedroom, down those stairs, past those grocery bags still sitting on the counter, and out the front door. I sat in my car for 2 hours just staring at nothing. My hands were shaking so bad, I couldn't even start the engine. I kept thinking, this is a nightmare. I'm going to wake up. But I didn't wake up because it was real. When I finally pulled myself together enough to go pick up Zach from school, I had to put on the performance of my life. My baby got in the car all excited about his math test, talking about how he thought he aced it, and I had to smile and celebrate with him like my whole world wasn't burning down. That night, Jack didn't come home. He texted me, after 16 years of marriage, saying he was staying at a hotel and we needed to talk about our situation like adults. Our situation. Like this was a business arrangement gone wrong. Zach noticed something was off at dinner. Mom, where's Dad? And why are you crying? I hadn't even realized tears were falling. I'm not crying, baby. Just tired. But Zach was 14, not 4. He was smart. Too smart. Did you and Dad have a fight? I couldn't lie to him. Something like that. But don't worry about it, okay? Everything's going to be fine. That was the first lie I told my son during all of this. Everything was not going to be fine. Everything was about to get so much worse. The next day, Jack showed up with a lawyer. Not to talk. Not to apologize. To serve me with divorce papers and a restraining order claiming I'd been verbally abusive and unstable. Girl, I had never even raised my voice at this man in 16 years, and he was painting me as some kind of crazy woman. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what came next. See, Jack didn't just want a divorce. He wanted to destroy me. And he knew exactly how to do it. Within a week, my phone was blowing up, but not with support, with accusations. My Aunt Cheryl called me, screaming that I'd been stealing money from Jack for years. My Uncle Bernard left me a voicemail, saying I was a disgrace to the family for driving Jack into another woman's arms with my laziness and disrespect. My own mother, called me crying, asking me why I couldn't just work it out and forgive him because marriages go through rough patches. I couldn't understand it. How was I the villain in this story? But then I talked to my best friend Lisa and she told me what was really going on. Jack and Diane had been telling everyone, and I mean everyone, that I'd been the problem all along. That I was controlling and manipulative. That I'd been emotionally abusing Jack for years. That I'd been keeping him from his family. That I'd been lazy and using him for his money while contributing nothing to the household. They even told people I'd been unfaithful first, with our neighbor of all people. Every lie was calculated. Every story was designed to make me look like the monster, and Jack look like the victim who'd finally found happiness with someone who appreciated him. And people believed it. My own family believed it. The woman who'd raised their children at family gatherings while they drank and laughed. The woman who'd made food for every holiday, every birthday, every celebration. The woman who'd helped them move, loaned them money, listened to their problems. They turned on me like I was nothing. Have you ever had everyone you love believe lies about you? Have you ever tried to defend yourself and realized that the more you explain, the guiltier you look? That's where I was. Drowning in false accusations. With no lifeline. The only people who stood by me were Lisa and Zach. My son looked at his father with such disappointment it would have broken a better man's heart. But Jack was too busy playing victim to care. Dad's saying you made him unhappy for years, Zach said to me one night, his voice shaking. He's saying, you're the reason he left. But I was here, Mom. I saw everything. You did everything for him. Everything for us. I held my baby and tried not to let him see me break. Sometimes people rewrite history to make themselves feel better about their choices, Zach. Your father is hurting me because hurting me is easier than admitting what he did was wrong. I hate him, Zach whispered. Don't hate him. He's still your father, but you don't have to respect his choices. 2 weeks after Jack left, I got the real blow. I went to the bank to withdraw money for groceries and the ATM. Declined my card. I tried again. Declined. I went inside to talk to the teller, and that's when I found out Jack had cleaned out our joint account. All of it. $35,000.
Gone.
I sat in that bank parking lot and finally let myself fall apart. Not because of the money itself, but because of what it meant. Jack had planned this. He'd moved money around, withdrawn our savings, and left me with nothing. While I was home cooking his favorite meals and ironing his shirts, he was systematically preparing to abandon me without a penny. The house was in his name. I'd trusted him to handle all that legal stuff because he was the lawyer. The cars were in his name. The credit cards were in his name. I had nothing. No money, no assets, no job history because I'd been a housewife for 16 years and a family that had turned against me based on lies. I had my son, my integrity, and about $47 in my personal checking account. That night, Zach and I sat at our kitchen table, well, technically Jack's kitchen table, eating ramen noodles, because it was all I could afford. My 14-year-old baby was trying so hard to be strong for me, but I could see the fear in his eyes. "Mom, what are we going to do?" he asked quietly. I looked at my son, and something in me shifted. The heartbreak, the humiliation, the betrayal, all of it crystallized into something else. Determination. "We're going to survive," I told him. "And then we're going to thrive. Your daddy thinks he's broken me, but he has no idea who I really am." Zach tried to smile. "What do you mean?" "I mean that for 16 years, I've been making Jack's life comfortable while putting my own dreams on hold. I've been so busy being a good wife that I forgot I could be a successful woman too. But I'm about to remember, baby. And when I'm done, they're going to wish they'd never crossed me." Do you think I was right to feel that way? Or should I have just accepted my fate and moved on quietly? Some people told me I should have just forgiven Jack and Diane, that holding on to anger would only hurt me more.
But
how do you forgive someone who didn't just leave you, who actively destroyed your reputation and left you penniless? I want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation needs to be had. And if you're loving the story so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button because Sarah's journey is just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The next morning, I woke up with purpose. I had no job, no money, no support system, but I had something more valuable. I had 16 years of skills that Jack had dismissed as just housewife stuff. I could organize, budget, create, and problem solve. I'd been managing a household, which is basically running a small business, without the paycheck. I started making a list. What could I do? What did I know how to do? What could I learn? That's when I remembered something from my childhood. My grandmother used to make her own soap.
not.
Just any soap. Beautiful, fragrant bars that she'd give as gifts. She tried to teach me when I was young, but I'd been too impatient to pay attention. Now I wished I'd listened. I went to the library because I couldn't afford internet at home anymore and started researching soap making. For hours, I read everything I could find. The chemistry behind it, the ingredients, the techniques, the safety precautions. I filled a notebook with notes and ideas. When Zach came home from school that day, he found me surrounded by library books and papers, my eyes lit up with something he hadn't seen in weeks: hope. "What's all this?" he asked. "This," I said, holding up my notebook, "is our future. I'm going to make soap." Zach looked confused. "Like, as a hobby?" "Like as a business, baby. Your grandmother's soap was legendary in our family. People loved it. I'm going to learn how to make it and I'm going to sell it. We're going to start small, but we're going to start." I could see Zach trying to be supportive while clearly thinking his mother had lost her mind. But he nodded. "Okay, Mom. I believe in you." Those 4 words, "I believe in you," meant more to me than anything else in the world at that moment. The problem was, I had no money to start. The basic supplies for soap making cost about $200 minimum, and I had $47 to my name. But I wasn't going to let that stop me. I swallowed my pride and sold everything I owned that had any value. My wedding ring, the ring I'd treasured for 16 years, went to a pawn shop for $300. My jewelry, my designer purse that I'd saved up for some of my clothes, anything I could part with, I sold. Within a week, I had $500. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start. I bought lye, oils, essential oils, molds, and safety equipment. I turned our tiny apartment kitchen we'd moved into a small place after Jack evicted us from the brownstone into a soap laboratory. I followed recipes exactly, measuring everything precisely, taking detailed notes on what worked and what didn't. My first batch was a disaster. The soap seized up and turned into a lumpy mess. My second batch was too soft. My third batch smelled terrible. But I didn't quit. Every failure taught me something. Zach became my assistant. After school, he'd help me measure ingredients, stir mixtures, and clean up. He never complained. Not once. He'd watch me work late into the night, perfecting recipes, and he'd bring me water and remind me to eat. "Mom, you need to sleep," he'd say around midnight. "Just one more batch, baby. I think I've got it this time." And one night, about 3 weeks into my soap-making journey, I did get it. I pulled a perfect bar of lavender soap out of the mold, and it was beautiful. Smooth, creamy, perfectly scented, with a gorgeous purple swirl. I held it up to the light, and tears started falling. "Mom, are you okay?" Zach asked, alarmed. "I'm perfect," I whispered. "We're going to be okay, Zach. We're really going to be okay." I made 50 bars of soap in different scents: lavender, peppermint, vanilla, citrus, and my grandmother's special recipe that I'd finally perfected, honey oat with chamomile. Each bar cost me about $2 to make. Now I had to sell them. I had no storefront, no website, no money for marketing. But I had a folding table, some pretty fabric I bought at a thrift store, and determination. Every Saturday and Sunday, Zach and I would set up at a local flea market in Brooklyn. I made signs by hand. Handmade natural soap, $8 per bar. I arranged the soaps beautifully, let people smell them, and told them about the natural ingredients. The first weekend, I sold 3 bars, $24. I wanted to cry, but I smiled instead. The second weekend, I sold 7 bars. The third weekend, I sold 20 bars. Word started spreading. People loved the soap. They came back for more. They told their friends. I started getting special requests. "Can you make one with rose and shea butter? Do you have anything for sensitive skin? My daughter has eczema. Can you make something gentle?" I said yes to everything and taught myself how to make specialty soaps. I spent my nights researching, experimenting, learning. I was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, but I'd never felt more alive. By the end of the second month, I was selling out every weekend. I'd made back my initial investment and had a little profit. Not much, maybe $300, but it was $300 I'd earned with my own hands. One Saturday, a woman came to my booth, bought 10 bars of soap, and asked, "Do you wholesale?" "Wholesale," I repeated. "I own a boutique in Manhattan. Your soap is incredible. I want to carry it in my store." My heart stopped. "Really? Really? How many bars can you produce per week?" I did quick math in my head. Right now, about 100. But I could scale up if needed. She handed me her card. "Call me Monday. Let's work out the details." That night, Zach and I celebrated with pizza, the first time we'd eaten anything other than budget meals in months. As we sat on our tiny apartment floor eating pepperoni slices, my son looked at me with such pride. "Mom, you're amazing. You know that." I hugged him tight. "We're amazing. I couldn't do this without you." But even as we celebrated this small victory, I couldn't help thinking about Jack and Diane. I'd heard through the grapevine that they were living it up, fancy dinners, trips, a new apartment. They'd taken my money, our money, and were spending it like it would never run out. Meanwhile, I was working 18-hour days just to keep us afloat. Should I have been focused on revenge? Or was I right to focus on building something instead? Some people say the best revenge is success, but others say I should have been fighting Jack in court from day one. What do you think? Would you have channeled your energy into building a business, or would you have made destroying your ex your top priority? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your perspective on this. And if you're invested in Sarah's story, show some love by subscribing and hitting that like button. Part 2 is going to blow your mind, I promise you that. The boutique deal changed everything. Within a month, I was producing 200 bars of soap per week and barely keeping up with demand. I had to make a decision. Keep this small and manageable, or take a risk and try to grow. I chose to grow. I used every penny of profit to buy more supplies and equipment. I rented a small commercial kitchen space for $300 a month, a huge expense that terrified me, but I couldn't produce enough soap in my apartment kitchen anymore. Zach and I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I'd work in the commercial kitchen until it was time to take him to school. Then I'd work until pickup time, bring him to the kitchen with me, and we'd work together until late at night. My son learned every aspect of soap making. He became my quality control expert. "Mom, this batch is a little too oily," he'd say, and he'd be right. "This one's perfect," he'd announce, and I'd know it was ready to sell. We were exhausted. We were stressed. But we were together and we were building something. 3 months into my soap business, I had 5 boutiques carrying my products and a small but loyal customer base at the flea market. I was making about $1,500 a month profit, not enough to live comfortably, but enough to pay rent, buy food, and keep the business growing. Then one day, I got an email that would change everything. "Dear Sarah, I came across your soaps at a boutique in Manhattan, and I'm absolutely in love with them. I'm a beauty influencer with 500,000 followers. Would you be interested in sending me some products to feature? I don't normally do this, but your story and your soap are both incredible." Her name was Jasmine Churn, and I'd never heard of her. But I looked her up, and she was legit a well-known beauty and lifestyle influencer with a devoted following. I sent her a package with 10 different soap varieties and a handwritten note thanking her for her interest. 2 weeks later, she posted a video reviewing my soaps. She talked about the quality, the scents, the fact that they were handmade by a single mom who'd started her business from nothing. She gave her followers a discount code and my website information, a basic website I'd built myself on a free platform. Within 12 hours, I had 300 orders. 300 orders. I sat at my computer refreshing the page, watching the numbers climb, and I couldn't breathe. This was impossible. This was a miracle. This was terrifying. "Mom," Zach came over and looked at the screen. "Oh my God. I can't fill 300 orders," I whispered. "I can't produce that much soap. What am I going to do?" Zach grabbed my shoulders. "Mom, look at me. You're going to figure it out. You always do. You're Sarah. You're a fighter." And he was right. I was a fighter. I worked for 72 hours straight, taking only short naps. I filled every single order. I packaged each bar of soap carefully, wrote thank you notes, and shipped them out. Zach helped me every step of the way, missing school one day to help me get through the rush, something I normally would never allow, but these were extraordinary circumstances. When the last package was shipped, I collapsed on the couch in our apartment and slept for 14 hours. When I woke up, my phone was full of notifications. Messages from happy customers. Reorders. New boutiques wanting to carry my products. An email from a small business accelerator program asking if I'd be interested in applying for their mentorship and grant program. This was it. This was the moment. I could feel it. My life was about to change. But I also knew that somewhere in the city, Jack and Diane were still living their lives, probably not even thinking about me anymore. Probably thinking they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. 6 months into my soap business, I was making $5,000 a month profit. Not rich by any means, but compared to where I'd been, It felt like millions. Zach and I moved into a better apartment, still modest, but it had 2 bedrooms and actual heat that worked. My baby finally had his own space again. But success doesn't come without sacrifice, and honey, I was sacrificing everything. I was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. My hands were constantly rough and dry from handling lye and essential oils. I had permanent dark circles under my eyes. I'd lost 15 pounds because I kept forgetting to eat. But every time I wanted to quit, every time my body screamed for rest, I'd remember that look on Diane's face in my bed. I'd remember Jack's cold voicemail saying he was done pretending. I'd remember my own family turning their backs on me. And I'd keep going. The business accelerator program I'd applied to, they accepted me. Out of 300 applicants, they chose 25 small businesses to mentor and fund. I was one of them. They gave me a $15,000 grant, business mentorship, and access to resources I'd never dreamed of having. The day I got that acceptance email, I sat in my commercial kitchen and cried like a baby. Zach came over and hugged me tight. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," he whispered. "We did this together, baby. You and me." The accelerator program changed my entire approach to business. They taught me about branding, marketing, scaling production, building a real company instead of just selling soap. They connected me with a lawyer who helped me trademark my business name, Sarah's Naturals, and set up proper business structures. For the first time since Jack left, I felt like I was building something that could last. Something that was truly mine. But life has a funny way of testing you right when you think you're getting somewhere. It was a cold Tuesday morning in November, almost a year after Jack had destroyed my life, when I ran into Diane at a grocery store in Harlem. I was exhausted, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, my hair tied back in a messy bun, rushing to grab supplies before heading to my kitchen. She was in the produce section looking at avocados. For a second, I thought about turning around and leaving, but then something in me said no. No more running. No more hiding. I walked right up to her. "Diane." She turned around, and girl, the look on her face was priceless. Shock, guilt, and something else. Was that fear? She looked different than I remembered. Thinner, tired. Her designer bag looked authentic, but her coat had a stain on it. Her hair wasn't done. She looked rough. "Sarah," she said, her voice shaky. I didn't expect to see you." "I bet you didn't." I kept my voice calm, controlled. "How's life treating you?" She straightened up, trying to find that arrogance she'd had in my bedroom. "It's good. Really good. Jack and I don't care." I cut her off. "I just wanted to see you face to face and tell you something." She waited, her knuckles white on her shopping cart handle. "Thank you," I said. "What?" "Thank you for showing me who you really are. Thank you for taking Jack off my hands. Turns out, losing both of you was the best thing that ever happened to me." I didn't wait for her response. I just walked away, grabbed my supplies, and left her standing there looking like I'd slapped her. When I got to my car, my hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness, from power. From knowing that I'd just faced one of the people who destroyed me and didn't crumble. I'd stood tall, said my piece, and walked away with my dignity intact. That encounter fueled me for weeks. I threw myself into my business with renewed energy. The accelerator program ended with a pitch competition, 25 businesses competing for a $100,000 investment from a panel of venture capitalists. I practiced my pitch every single night. Zach would sit on the couch and listen to me, giving me feedback, timing me, helping me perfect every word. "Mom, you need to smile more when you talk about the products," he'd say. "You look too serious." "I need to be taken seriously, baby." "You can be serious and smile. You're selling happiness and self-care. Show them you believe in it." My 14-year-old son was giving me business advice, and he was right. The day of the pitch competition, I was terrified. I wore the only professional outfit I owned, a simple black Dress I'd bought at a thrift store and had tailored. I'd done my hair and makeup carefully. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked strong, capable, successful. She looked nothing like the broken woman who'd been left with $47 and a broken heart a year ago. There were 5 judges, all successful entrepreneurs and investors. I was the 18th business to pitch. I watched the others go before me. Impressive presentations, slick graphics, confident speakers. My palms were sweating. Then it was my turn. I walked onto that stage, looked at those 5 judges, and I told my story. Not just about the soap. About being left with nothing. About choosing to fight instead of giving up. About turning pain into purpose. I showed them my sales numbers, my growth trajectory, my customer testimonials. I explained my vision for Sarah's Naturals. Not just soap, but a full line of natural beauty products made by women for women, focused on self-care and empowerment. When I finished, the room was silent. Then one of the judges, a Black woman in her 50s named Patricia Williams, started clapping. Then the others joined in. Sarah, Patricia said, leaning forward, I have one question for you. Why should we invest in soap when the beauty market is already saturated? I took a deep breath. Because this isn't just soap. This is a movement. Every woman who's been told she's not enough, every woman who's been betrayed and discarded, every woman who's had to rebuild herself from nothing, they're my customers. And there are millions of us. We deserve products that celebrate our strength, our resilience, our beauty. Sarah's Naturals isn't competing with mass-market soap. We're creating a community. Patricia smiled. Thank you, Sarah. I walked off that stage not knowing if I'd won or lost, but knowing I'd given it everything I had. 2 weeks later, I got the call. I'd won $100,000. I collapsed on my kitchen floor and sobbed. Zach came running in from his room, scared something was wrong. Mom. What happened? Are you okay? I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face, and I laughed. Baby, we won. We won. He pulled me up and we danced around that tiny kitchen like fools, laughing and crying and celebrating. That $100,000 allowed me to do everything I dreamed of. I hired my first employees, 3 women from my neighborhood who needed work. I rented a real production facility. I invested in professional packaging and branding. I launched a website that didn't look like it was made in 1995. I created a full product line: body butters, sugar scrubs, bath salts, facial oils. Within 6 months, Sarah's Naturals was in 50 boutiques across New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. I was shipping products nationwide. My Instagram following grew to 20,000 people. I was getting interviewed by local news stations and small business magazines. And through all of it, Zach was right there beside me. He'd grown so much in the past year and a half, not just physically, but emotionally. My baby had watched his mother get knocked down and get back up stronger. He'd learned work ethic, resilience, and the value of building something from nothing. One night, as we were having dinner in our apartment, I'd finally learned to take Sundays off. Zach looked at me with those serious eyes. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever think about Dad? I put down my fork. Sometimes. Why? I saw him last week. He was waiting outside my school. My blood ran cold. What? Zach. Why didn't you tell me? Because I handled it. He sat up straighter, and I saw the young man he was becoming. He wanted to talk. Said he missed me and wanted to explain everything. Said you'd turn me against him with lies. My hands clenched into fists. What did you say? I told him I was there. I saw everything. I saw how he treated you, how he left us with nothing, how he let everyone attack you when you did nothing wrong. I told him he didn't get to rewrite history just because it made him feel better. Zach's voice cracked slightly. He tried to give me money, said he wanted to help with school and stuff. I told him we didn't need his money, that you'd built something amazing without him, and I was proud to be your son. I got up and hugged him so tight. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, baby. Don't be sorry. I wanted to say those things. He needed to hear them. Zach pulled back and looked at me. Mom, he looked bad. Really bad. His car was old and beat up. His clothes didn't fit right. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. I should have felt satisfaction hearing that, but I just felt empty. That's not our problem anymore, Zach. I know, but I thought you should know. That night, after Zach went to bed, I allowed myself to wonder what had happened to Jack. I'd been so focused on rebuilding my own life that I hadn't thought about his in months. The last I'd heard, he and Diane were living it up on my money. But curiosity got the better of me. I called Lisa, who still had connections to my old family circles. Lisa, have you heard anything about Jack and Diane lately? There was a long pause. Girl, you don't know? Know what? It all fell apart about 6 months ago. Jack got disbarred. What? Turns out he'd been stealing from client trust funds for years. Someone finally reported him and the whole thing came crashing down. He's facing criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. Lost his law license, his reputation, everything. I sat down heavily. And Diane? Left him the second the money dried up. Heard she's back living with her sister in the Bronx, working at a call center. They burned through your $35,000 in Las Vegas months ago. Blew it all on gambling, fancy hotels, trying to live like celebrities. Lisa paused. Sarah, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I didn't want to upset you when you were doing so well. I'm not upset, I said, and I meant it. I don't even know what I am. You should be satisfied. They got exactly what they deserved. But that's the thing, I didn't feel satisfied. I felt nothing. They'd become so irrelevant to my life that even their downfall didn't move me. What do you think about that? When someone who hurt you badly ends up suffering, are you supposed to feel happy about it? Or does true healing mean you just don't care anymore? I've thought about this a lot and I still don't have an answer. Some days, I think I should have felt more vindicated. Other days, I think not caring was the ultimate victory. What's your take? Drop it in the comments because I really want to know how you'd feel. And if you're still riding with Sarah through this journey, show me some love, subscribe, and hit that like button. Part 3 is where everything comes together, and you need to see what happens next. The holidays came, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something close to peace. Zach and I spent Christmas in our apartment, just the two of us, and it was perfect. We cooked together, watched movies, and talked about the future. Mom, I've been thinking about college, Zach said on Christmas night. You're only 15, baby. We have time. I know, but I want to study law. I want to help people like you, people who get screwed over and need someone to fight for them. My eyes filled with tears. You're going to be amazing. I learned from the best. He smiled. You never gave up. Even when everyone turned on you, even when you had nothing, you kept fighting. That's what I want to do with my life. Fight for people who can't fight for themselves. In that moment, I realized that all the pain, all the struggle, all the sleepless nights, they'd given my son something more valuable than money or comfort. They'd given him character and purpose. As Sarah's Naturals continued to grow, I started getting approached by major retailers. Target wanted to carry my products in 50 stores as a trial run. Whole Foods was interested in my organic line. Ulta Beauty reached out about a possible partnership. These were opportunities I'd never dreamed of when I was making soap in my apartment kitchen. But they came with a price. I'd have to scale production massively, which meant more staff, more equipment, more investment, and more risk. My business mentor from the Accelerator program, a man named David Chun, sat with me one afternoon to discuss the Target offer. Sarah, this is a make-or-break moment, he said. If you say yes, you're committing to becoming a major brand. That means you can't be hands-on with everything anymore. You'll need a team, infrastructure, systems. You'll be a CEO, not just a soap maker. I'm scared, I admitted. What if I fail? What if I can't deliver? What if? What if you succeed? He interrupted. What if this little business you started with $500 becomes a multi-million-dollar company? What if you create jobs for dozens of women? What if your story inspires thousands of other women to start their own businesses? I thought about that woman who'd stood in her bedroom doorway watching her world crumble. I thought about the $47 in my bank account and the ramen noodles Zach and I had eaten for months. I thought about every person who'd turned their back on me, every lie that had been told about me, every moment I'd wanted to give up, but didn't. Let's do it, I said. Let's build an empire. Over the next 6 months, Sarah's Naturals transformed from a small business into a real company. I hired a production manager, a marketing director, a sales team, and a customer service department. I rented a 10,000 square foot facility in Queens. I worked with designers to create beautiful, sustainable packaging that told our brand story. The Target launch was terrifying and exhilarating. They started with 50 stores and my product sold out in 3 weeks. They expanded to 200 stores, then 500. Within a year, Sarah's Naturals was in every Target in America. The money started really coming in. Not just comfortable money, life-changing money. I paid off every debt I had. I moved Zach and me into a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn, not as fancy as the one Jack had kicked us out of, but it was ours. Actually ours. My name on the deed. I hired a financial advisor to help me invest wisely. I set up a college fund for Zach that would cover any school he wanted to attend. I started a foundation to help other single mothers start their own businesses because I remembered what it felt like to have nothing and no one. One Saturday afternoon, Zach and I were in our new home, hanging pictures on the walls, when he stopped and looked at me. Mom, do you realize what you've done? What do you mean? You built all of this in less than 3 years. You went from having nothing to having everything. You're amazing. I hugged him tight. We did this. You've been with me every step of the way. I just helped. You're the one who refused to quit. And that was the truth of it. I'd refused to quit. Even when quitting would have been easier. Even when everyone expected me to fail. Even when I was exhausted and scared and didn't know if I could take one more step. I took it anyway. But I knew the story wasn't over yet. There were still chapters to write, still battles to fight, still dreams to chase. And I was ready for all of it. Because I wasn't just Sarah, the woman who got betrayed. I was Sarah, the woman who turned her pain into power. And honey, I was just getting started. 3 years after Jack walked out of my life, Sarah's Naturals hit $10 million in annual revenue. 10 million. Let that sink in for a moment. The woman who'd been left with $47 and a broken heart was now running a multi-million-dollar company. But money wasn't even the best part. The best part was watching Zach grow into an incredible young man. He was 17 now, about to graduate high school at the top of his class. And when those college acceptance letters started coming in, I cried tears of pure joy. Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Princeton. Every top law school program in the country wanted him. He chose Columbia Law School right here in New York so he could stay close to me and keep helping with the business on weekends. My baby had gotten a full academic scholarship, something he'd earned entirely on his own merit, with his own hard work. The day he got his acceptance letter, we sat in our brownstone living room, and he looked at me with those wise eyes that had seen too much too young. Mom, I need to tell you something. What is it, baby? Dad reached out again. Through email this time. My stomach tightened. What did he want? He congratulated me on Columbia. Said he was proud of me. Zach's voice was flat, emotionless. Then he asked if I could help him. Said he's been struggling since the disbarment, that he made mistakes, that he wants to make amends. And what did you say? I told him the truth. That I appreciate the congratulations, but I don't need his pride. I have yours, and that's Worth more than anything he could offer. Zach paused. I also told him that you never once spoke badly about him to me, that you always encouraged me to form my own opinions. And my opinion is that he's a coward who destroyed the best thing he ever had. I reached over and squeezed his hand. I'm proud of the man you're becoming. I learned from the best woman I know. That summer before Zach started Columbia, something unexpected happened. I was at a charity gala for women entrepreneurs, something I'd been invited to as a speaker when I met him. Malcolm Rivers, 45 years old, successful tech entrepreneur, and the most genuinely kind man I'd met in years. He approached me after my speech, not to pitch me a business deal or try to get something from me, but simply to tell me my story had moved him. My mother was a single parent who built a catering business from nothing, he said, his smile warm and sincere. Your story reminded me of her strength. Thank you for sharing it. We talked for 2 hours that night. About business, about parenting, about overcoming adversity, about life. He was intelligent, successful, handsome, and most importantly, he saw me. Not Sarah the successful CEO, not Sarah the revenge story, not Sarah the victim, just Sarah, the woman. He asked if he could take me to dinner sometime. I hesitated. I'm not really looking for. I've been focused on my son and my business. Just dinner, he said gently. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people who enjoyed talking to each other. Talking some more. I said yes. That first dinner turned into a second. Then a third. Malcolm was patient, respectful, and honest. He'd been divorced for 5 years, had 2 grown daughters who he adored, and had built his tech company with the same kind of determination I'd used to build mine. I'm not trying to rush you, he told me on our 4th date. I just want you to know that I see something special in you, Sarah. And I'd like to keep getting to know you at whatever pace you're comfortable with. For the first time in years, I let my guard down. Just a little. Zach noticed immediately. Mom, you're smiling more. Like, really smiling. Is there something you want to tell me? I laughed. Maybe. There's someone I'd like you to meet. If you're okay with that. Is he good to you? Very. Then I'm okay with it. Malcolm and Zach hit it off immediately. Malcolm didn't try to be Zach's father or replace Jack. He was just himself, supportive, interested, respectful. He'd come to Zach's high school graduation and cheered louder than anyone. He'd helped me move Zach into his Columbia dorm. He'd become part of our lives naturally, easily, like he'd always belonged there. 6 months into our relationship, I finally told Malcolm the whole story. Everything. The betrayal, the lies, the family turning on me, the struggle, the $47. I never shared all the details with anyone except Lisa. When I finished, Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. Say something, I whispered. I'm just thinking about how remarkable you are, he said softly. Most people would have become bitter, angry, closed off. But you turned that pain into purpose. You built an empire, raised an incredible son, and somehow kept your heart open enough to let me in. He took my hand. Sarah, I'm falling in love with you. My breath caught. Malcolm, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. But the truth was I was falling for him too. Slowly, carefully, but genuinely. Meanwhile, Sarah's naturals kept growing. We expanded internationally, launching in Canada and the UK. We developed a men's grooming line that Zach helped me create. He was my target demographic and chief product tester. We partnered with major hotels and spas. Forbes featured me in their Self-Made Women issue. I was living a life I'd never imagined possible. One afternoon, I was in my office when my assistant buzzed me. Sarah, there's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Her name is Diane. My blood went cold. Tell her I'm busy. She says she'll wait as long as it takes. I sat there for a moment debating. Then something in me said, face her. End this chapter once and for all. Send her in. Diane walked into my corner office and, honey, she looked rough. Her clothes were cheap, her hair needed doing, and she'd aged badly in 3 years. She looked around at my space, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, the awards on my walls, the photos of me with celebrities and politicians who used my products, and I watched something break in her eyes. Sarah, she said, her voice small. Thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes. She sat down, wringing her hands. I came to apologize. For everything. For Jack, for the lies, for destroying your life. You didn't destroy my life, I said calmly. You tried to. But I rebuilt it better than it ever was. I can see that. She looked around again. You've done so well. Better than any of us. Is that why you're here? To see how well I'm doing? No. I'm here because... She took a shaky breath. Because I lost everything, Sarah. Jack and I burned through your money in 6 months. Then he lost his license and everything fell apart. He blamed me, said I'd distracted him, that he'd made bad decisions because of me. We fought constantly. He became someone I didn't recognize. Someone mean and desperate. She wiped her eyes. We broke up a year ago. I'm living with my sister, working 2 jobs just to pay rent. I have nothing. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. But mostly I just felt tired. What do you want from me, Diane? I don't know. Forgiveness, maybe? Or just, I needed you to know that I was wrong. About everything. You weren't the problem. You were never the problem. You were always the strong one, the capable one. And I was so jealous of that. Of how effortlessly you seemed to handle everything. Of how much Jack relied on you even, though he pretended he didn't. I wanted what you had, so I took it. And it destroyed me. I looked at this broken woman who'd once been my cousin, my friend, my betrayer, and I felt nothing but pity. I forgive you, I said quietly. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger only hurts me. You made your choices. You're living with the consequences. That's not my problem anymore. Thank you, she whispered. And Sarah, I really am sorry. For all of it. After she left, I sat in my office watching the sun set over the city, and I felt something shift inside me. The last piece of bitterness dissolved. I was finally completely free. Should I have forgiven her? Some people told me later that I was too easy on her, that she deserved my anger. Others said forgiveness was strength. What do you think? When someone who destroyed your life comes back, broken and apologetic, do you forgive them? Or do some things not deserve forgiveness? I still think about this. Sometimes, and I'm not sure there's a right answer. Let me know what you do in the comments. And if Sarah's journey has meant something to you, if her story has inspired you or moved you, show some love. Subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Your support means everything. 2 months later, I was invited to speak at a women's business conference in Atlanta. It was a huge event, 5,000 attendees, major media coverage. They wanted me to share my story and my secrets to success. Standing on that stage, looking out at thousands of women, Black women, white women, Asian women, Latina women, all of them hungry for hope and inspiration, I told them the truth. 3 years ago, I had $47 to my name. I began. My husband had left me for my cousin. My family had turned on me. I was sleeping on an air mattress in a tiny apartment, feeding my son ramen noodles, and wondering if we'd make it through the month. Today, my company is worth over $15 million. Not because I'm special. Not because I'm smarter than you. But because I refuse to let my circumstances define my future. The crowd erupted in applause. Every single one of you has the power to transform your life, I continued. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. There will be nights you want to quit. Days you question everything. Moments when everyone tells you to give up. But if you can hold on to your vision, work harder than you've ever worked, and refuse to accept defeat, you can build anything you want. After my speech, Women lined up for hours to talk to me, to thank me, to tell me their own stories of struggle and survival. I hugged them, encouraged them, and promised them that their current situation wasn't their final destination. That night, Malcolm flew in to surprise me. We had dinner at a beautiful restaurant, and over dessert he pulled out a small box. "Malcolm," I breathed. "Before you panic, this isn't what you think it is," he said, laughing. "I know you're not ready for that yet.
But I
wanted to give you something to remember how far you've come." Inside the box was a beautiful necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small pendant shaped like a phoenix rising from flames. "Because that's what you are," Malcolm said softly. "You rose from the ashes and became something magnificent." I put on that necklace, and I haven't taken it off since. Zach thrived at Columbia. He made law review, interned at civil rights organizations, and used his summers to help me expand Sarah's Naturals charity work. We launched a program providing free products and business training to women in homeless shelters, helping them start their own small businesses. On Zach's 20th birthday, we were having dinner at our favorite restaurant when he said, "Mom, I saw Dad." Again. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. When? Last week. He was asking for money outside a subway station. My heart broke, not for Jack, but for Zach having to see that. "I gave him $20, Zach said quietly. "I know you probably think I shouldn't have, but—" "No," I interrupted. "You did the right thing.
He's still your father."
And showing compassion to someone who's suffering, even someone who hurt us, that's who you are. I'm proud of you." "He didn't recognize me at first," Zach continued. "I've changed so much since he last saw me. When I told him who I was, he cried, Mom. He said he'd lost everything. His career, his reputation, his family.
He said
his biggest regret was losing us." "What did you say?" "I told him that actions have consequences. That he didn't lose us. He threw us away. But I also told him it wasn't too late to rebuild his life, if he was willing to do the work." Zach looked at me. "Was that okay?" "More than okay. You showed him grace. That's more than he deserved, but it says everything about who you are." Today, 5 years after Jack left me standing in that bedroom doorway, Sarah's Naturals employs over 200 people, has annual revenue exceeding $20 million, and our products are sold in 43 countries. I've been featured in Essence, Entrepreneur, and Incorporated magazine. I've spoken at dozens of conferences. I've helped hundreds of women start their own businesses. But the success that matters most? Zach graduated from Columbia Law School last month with honors.
He's
starting his career as a civil rights attorney, fighting for people who can't fight for themselves.
Just like he said
he would that Christmas night years ago. And Malcolm? He proposed 6 months ago, and I said yes. We're getting married this fall in a small ceremony, with just our closest friends and family. Not because I need a man to complete me, I don't, but because I found a partner who sees me, values me, and loves me exactly as I am. As for Jack and Diane, I heard through Lisa that Jack's trying to rebuild his life, working as a paralegal and going to AA meetings. Diane moved to Philadelphia for a fresh start. I genuinely hope they find peace and healing. Not because I've forgotten what they did, but because I've moved so far beyond it that their story is no longer connected to mine. Sometimes late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about that woman standing in the grocery store parking lot with $47, terrified about how she'd feed her son. I wish I could go back and tell her, "You're going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. This pain you're feeling right now,
it's
going to become your power. These people who are betraying you, they're actually setting you free.
Hold on.
Keep fighting. Your empire is coming." But I couldn't tell her because she had to walk through that fire to become who I am today. And honey, I wouldn't change a single thing. This is Sarah's story. From $47 and a broken heart to a multi-million-dollar empire and a life filled with love, purpose, and peace. I didn't just survive my betrayal. I used it as fuel to build something beautiful. What's your story going to be? When life knocks you down, will you stay there? Or will you rise up stronger than before? The choice is always yours. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If my story touched your heart, inspired your spirit, or gave you hope when you needed it most, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, there's a woman standing in her own parking lot with her own $47, and she needs to know that her empire is coming too. This is Sarah, signing off. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. Keep rising.